Okay,
Okay.
let me just reshare. Let me just get back to my slide deck again. So this is our why you should deploy or migrate to Azure Martin, because we get a centralized management. When I say centralized management is like I have a data collection rule which is governing the accessibility from Azure Virtual Machine, VMSS, or Azure Arc enabled server. So Azure Arc enabled one, we need the logs coming from the third party like GCP, Amazon, or on premises, right? To onboard them and to make it Azure machine, we need Azure Arc. So then we can create a data collection rule so as to define what type of logs we need to know, right? So these are all the resources. In the last slide, we understood like what is the resource or what are the source we have. So these are all the sources. From these sources, we need to understand what type
So
of
Azure Arc, it's just a application
yeah,
or
it's a service in here. So I'll just show you where
okay.
the Azure Arc is. So as you search Azure Arc, right?
Mhm.
Azure Arc. This is Azure Arc. So this is the logo here. And
Haha.
so once the machine you add, right? So then that machine will reflect in here. So that means you need to add a machine, right? So use like a single multiple server like that. You add servers from AWS like that. If you want to just single server, then so there is script generation option. If you generate the script and run it onto the here you are defining actually you are defining the machine which you are trying to onboard, right? In which resource group it should go. It should go in this resource group like that.
Okay.
Then which region it should go and what is the
Mhm.
type of operating system it is Windows or Linux. All that selection you need to do. And there are three connectivity methods we have: public endpoint, proxy server, and private endpoint. So based on your security
Mhm.
requirement, preferably you cannot opt for public endpoint, but in test environment you can to get a feel of Azure Arc, right? You can go for public endpoint, but in production scenarios, you preferably go with a private endpoint or proxy server like that.
Okay.
And then we need to create a service principal like an identity which will help us to onboard this machine. So once this is done, we can download the script. This script we need to run onto the endpoint which is on other cloud provider like GCP or Amazon or AWS or on
Mhm.
premises. So once that script runs successfully, it will be showing us that machine in this place, right? And we would know the resource group, correct?
Okay.
So by
So that
Mhm.
that script manually we have to run in the GCP or AWS cloud machines, right?
Yes,
Endpoint
yes,
machine
exactly,
or endpoint server. Okay.
exactly. Now,
Okay.
if we are like at a machine, right? If I'm generating a script here, right? So if you see private
Mhm.
endpoint, when I say private endpoint, that means we might need some networking knowledge, right? Which I usually don't have. We might work with some
Mhm.
networking person who would know the networking of Azure cloud as well as if it is on GCP cloud, then we need some Spock from the GCP cloud who understand the networking constructs of Google Cloud, right? Because then only we can
Correct.
establish the connectivity between the two. Same as with AWS or same as with on-premises as well. So
Mhm.
this is quite complicated, but uh, in case if only one person tries to do it, we need networking knowledge from Azure cloud and the other cloud provider or on-premises networking constructs like that. But this is
Okay.
quite
So
straightforward.
collaboratively
Yeah,
collaboration is required with.
we need to sit in collaboration and understand the constructs, and then only we will be
Mhm.
able to establish the connectivity. But from security
Okay.
standpoint, this is the preferred one, like that.
Okay. Okay.
So let's go ahead. Now, why you should migrate from Azure? So we are consistently pitching, right, that we should migrate from log analytics agent to Azure monitoring agent. Why? First thing is the security. Like you are not sharing your workspace ID and you are not sharing your primary key, so that is why you should need, because the older version is totally dependent on the workspace ID and the key itself, right? Now, the
Yes.
second thing is it offers centralized management as we see here, right? We can have one data collection rule for all of these, and we can manage it
Mhm.
single-handedly like that. So that is the centralized management. I'll show you how when we create a DCL, right? And this is the same thing written here, like it enhances security as it is managed identity based. As we know, it is managed, it's not sharing the workspace and key, right? Which the older version shares, right? As it doesn't share, we are enhancing the security. That is how it is.
Okay.
Now we know our workspace and Azure Monitor Agent. Any doubt in Azure Monitor Agent, understanding Azure Monitor? Because now we'll focus on our
Uh,
DCR only.
no, Azure monitoring agent, it's okay.
Okay, let's now focus on data collection rule. So what is data collection rule? DCR is basically a configuration which lets Azure Monitor Agent know what type of data must be captured and forwarded to the data ingestion pipeline. So this is the thing that, like, we will set up the agent on the machine, correct? But what type of data we need to capture, right? That is decided by data collection rule. This is the key role of data
So
collection rule.
what kind of data means, like
What type of data means what type of
WEF or CF
what
or
type of logs? Maybe authentication log,
okay.
security level log, event type of
Okay,
log.
okay, okay.
So that
Like in security system DNS, that kind of log. What suppose
uh,
if we are pulling from a window machines.
exactly, exactly. So that is how it works. I mean, that's how it help us to decide based on the log resource, maybe Windows or Linux. It will help us to decide. So we'll just see that. We can apply
So
transfer.
manually we can select. Suppose I don't need system logs. Only application logs is required. Is it possible?
Yeah, exactly. You have three options. First, it gives one is custom, one is out of the box, which are available options, right? So you can
Yes.
validate between these two what type of logs. If there's no offering directly, you can create your own custom logs as well to stream to our workspace.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first point is telling about the configuration of
Yeah, what
DCR.
type of log you want to
So
because
what kind of logs we can send to the Azure Analytics workplace, right?
exactly. Now we
Yeah.
can apply transformation prior ingesting the data and define where exactly data should be ingested precisely to a table or workspace. We can now this transformation is like, consider, for example, there is a field called as time generated which will show us the time, right? And the prerequisite is like whenever you create any table, right, you should have that
Mm-hmm.
field, you should have the time generated field. If it is not there, it will not allow you to create a new table. So that means we need to do some transformation there, right? Now, for instance, for example, I am taking any XYZ log format which is in JSON, right? It has time generated field, but the name of the field is quite different. For example, it's like timestamp, but the Sentinel doesn't understand timestamp. It only understands time generated, correct? So what I would do is I will get the data of timestamp to time generated. I will create a new field will with the name as time generated and will get the data to time generated, and then I will remove the timestamp field from the actual JSON format. So that's what transformation refers to. I mean, prior ingesting the data, if you want to do any transformation in the data which is coming, right, first we will decide what data. And if you want to amend that data, that is referred to as transformation prior ingestion, right? So that works every
Okay.
time. Now, data collection rule can be created for Windows, Linux, and other platforms. So DCR is, as we saw in this diagram, right? It is applicable to all of these. Like VMSS is for in case of if you want high availability, go with VMSS and VMN like that. So it is applicable to all. It's not specific to Windows or Linux. It's applicable to all.
ये जो सेकंड पॉइंट था ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन,
हम्म,
इसको और एक बार आप एक्सप्लेन कर सकते? थोड़ा
यस,
मेरे को डाउट.
मैं समझाता हूँ इसको ऐसे कि just show you. Okay. What I'll do is I'll go to
डोंट माइंड, I'm quite fresher actually with
no,
this
no, no problem. I'll
tool.
just indicate कि ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन का मतलब क्या होता है वो मैं ये डेटा कलेक्शन रूल पे आया है. I'm just creating a new data collection. I'll just
Mhm.
provide a new DCR. Just provide any name to it and just consider that. I need to go to I need to if I need to create one table. If I plan to create one table, right? Let me just get to a workspace
Mhm.
and table. And I'm creating a DCR based table. This is a deprecated one. MMA is the older agent. We don't prefer it. So DCR is AMA based, so that's why I'm preferring new log. And we just need to provide the table name here. So table name, as it's a custom table, so it will be prefixed with -cl. I need to provide the table name.
Hyphen. Okay.
So I'll just go with maybe some random table like just sample. I'll just give a sample name, and it needs a data collection rule. So I'll just give this. I just want you to show the schema and transformation because there exactly the transformation comes, right? If we just give next,
Mhm.
If I just try to upload a sample file, I'll just show you what is that sample file I'm having. Um, so I have this JSON file. I'll just show you here by opening it. This is a sample JSON file and it's a custom log source. For this, we don't have any data connector out of the box. And you see we have a timestamp field here, right? So what I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to create a new table where I would be able to ingest the logs from this log source. Consider it as a log source, and for this log source I have the JSON log format, right? So I'm creating a new table so that I ingest the logs. Eventually सारे logs तो table में ही जाएंगे, right? So I need to have that table in place. So I'm just uploading this sample JSON here, but you see here, right? It says time generated field is not found. Although it uploaded it, but it is giving me an error here. You like time generated field is not, so in the JSON which I have uploaded, it says I'm not able to find any time generated field, correct? So
Yes.
I'm going to use a transformation editor to transform this data. So this is actually transformation. So as to create or to store the data, I need to do some transformation. So it doesn't know the table name actually as of now, so it is just considering the table name as a source. So how I'll do is I will create a new. So to create a new variable, what new variable I need to have? I need to have time generated as the new variable because it is not able to find it. So I'm just extending it. I'm creating a new variable in my source table. The table, this is the table name only, right? And I will assign timestamp to it, and I will project away. Project away means remove. What if I'm already assigning the content of timestamp to this time generated field, which is a new field, so I don't need this field anymore, right? So I will just project it away. If I don't project away, it will keep on showing me that. So project away. So this is an example of transformation. So if I just run it, if I just run the source, query must require schema. Okay, okay, okay. So it doesn't run until it has that, right? See, now it is running. So now it is taking time generated. It has all the data. So this is the same data which I've just shown you in this place, right? Like, yeah.
Okay.
So event ID, you see, we would have event ID which is like query session file download. Duplicate,
Mm-hmm.
it's a column name. This is a column name, this is
False.
a
Yes.
value. So if you see false, right?
Yeah.
There's some SHA value, there's some out value, destination file we have. So this means the data which is coming from this log source has this
Mm-hmm.
JSON file. So now whenever I tend to ingest the logs, this is actually I'm trying to define the schema, and that's why it was schema here, right? Until I have the schema in place, how will I be able to store the data in the table, right? So I'm defining the schema and I'm performing any transformation which might be required here. So that's how I transfer. This is an example of transformation. So that is what it is saying here.
Okay.
We can apply transformation
Okay.
prior ingesting the data and define where exactly it should be stored, precisely to a table or a workspace. So you always define the workspace, correct?
Yes.
And and here I'm defining the table as well. So if you recollect, when I went to log analytics workspace and creating a new table. So I'm creating the table, defining the schema, and transforming it as well. So these three things I did.
Okay.
Now DCR
Okay.
rule can be created for Windows, Linux. We just checked, right? That's it. Now there are certain prerequisites prior creating our data collection rule. What are these?
Azure VM.
Hmm. It could be
This year can be applied. Okay.
it should be applied to Azure VM or an Azure Arc machine. Azure Arc, so these are the two things only where we can apply our data collection rule. We cannot apply apart from these two things. Either it should be Azure VM, or if it is any on-premise or CSP, it should be onboarded by Azure Arc. So that we
Azure
can.
Arc.
Now, which means that you
Mm-hmm.
must onboard your on-prem AWS or GCP VM to Azure Arc before you can deploy AMA. So to deploy AMA, it should be in these two categories, Azure VM or Azure Arc. We cannot install
Yes.
any other place. AMA can be installed on these two places only, correct? Now,
Mm-hmm.
when we say DCR, when we want to create DCR, we need to understand which platform it is, whether it's a Linux or Windows. We need to select the actual resource name. If it's a Windows machine, then which Windows machine it is, which resource group it is situated in, like that. That's the selection of resource. Then what type of data should be collected? It should define, like if it's a Windows machine or a Linux machine, what type of log should I need to ingest. And if there's any
Okay.
transformation, I've just shown you how to, if there's any transformation required, we can do that transformation as well, and where to send the data. That's the actual log
Okay.
at this workspace and the table name. So we need to
Mm-hmm.
select the table as well as the workspace. So that these are the five
Okay.
attributes we'll explore on
इसमें
these five attributes and we are moving forward. Yeah.
ओके, इसमें एक क्वेश्चन है
Yes.
कि अगर कोई कोई लॉग सोर्स ऑन प्रेम में है, उसको
Yes.
हम नहीं कर सकते एजूर में ऑनबोर्ड, मतलब एजूर सीम के साथ इंटीग्रेट नहीं कर सकते.
सो नहीं, अगर ऑन प्रीमाइसेस है तो उसको जो आर्क के थ्रू ऑनबोर्ड करके एए में डाल के फिर लॉग्स ले पाऊंगा. दैट इज द अप्रोच.
ओके ओके, क्योंकि बहुत सारे कस्टमर्स जो है अभी ऑन प्रेम में है, सपोज वो एजूर में आना चाहते हैं या कुछ उसका जो डिवाइसेस है ऑन प्रेम में है, वो मतलब कैसे एजूर में कैसे ये ऑनबोर्ड किया जाएगा, इसीलिए मैं पूछ रहा था कि बट पॉसिबिलिटी इज देयर, राइट? वी कैन डू दैट.
सो पॉसिबली वो फिर वर्कस्पेस लॉग एंटिटीज वर्कस्पेस जो डेप्लीकेट हुआ है, राइट, उसके थ्रू कर सकते हैं, बट दैट इज नॉट प्रेफरेबल. व्हाई? एज आई टोल्ड यू, बिकॉज हम अपना फिर की एक्सपोज करेंगे, करेक्ट. और वो एज इट इज डेप्लीकेटेड, दैट मींस देयर इज नो सपोर्ट फॉर इट. सेकेंडली,
ओके,
so we should prefer to do it via AMA, sorry,
Okay.
Azure Arc. So
हाँ.
what we can do is, like for example, हमारे पास 100 machines हैं on premises पे, so उनको हम Azure Arc के through onboard कर लेंगे, and then they will be part of Azure. So then we can, in our, while defining this DCR, right, we need to choose the resource. So the किस resource
एजूर आर्क में ऑनबोर्ड करने के लिए कोई कॉस्ट इन्वॉल्व होता है या ये ऐसे हो जाएगा नॉर्मली?
That's a good question, by the way. I need to check if there is any cost to Azure Arc.
Okay.
There's some cost associated with Azure Arc, but features are free. Features are free, like SQL Manage and Azure Arc enables servers. So there are in there these are in preview for Azure Arc for um, Windows. No. Cost is a thing which is like a dedicated person discusses the cost. We mostly focus on the implementation of service, but there's a calculator here which we can use, like where it is available, which region it is. So for Windows Server, like that data, there would be cost, but what are those parameters on which this depends? There are like multiple attributes of calculating the cost. So I have like focused on the cost aspect, yes. So let's get back to our platform, and so this is the very first segment in this. We are now going to explore these 5 attributes of data collection rule, and we then consolidate and create one, right? So let's get to the first part, which is which platform. To decide the platform, it can be either Windows, Linux, or all. So if I just get to the portal here, where you need to locate the Azure data collection rule. So it's part of a monitor, right? Monitor is the key service. Although you can search with data collection rule at the top, but it's part of monitor service.
Monitor service.
So we have data collection rule here, right? So either you can search there or you can come to monitor like that. Now if you plan to create any data collection rule, you see first thing is the rule name, what name you want to give, in which subscription resource you want to create with, and then you see the region and then the platform type. So this is what I'm considering as the platform type: Windows, Linux, or it's showing Windows, Linux, and op. So if you want to plan
and all means both window and
that means,
Linux.
Yes, exactly. In this resource group, if you have both the Windows and Linux machine, then you will
Okay.
see the option to choose which machine and which Linux machine you want to get the logs from, right? Like that. And
Okay.
but the
Okay.
key thing,
For network devices, that data collection rule is different, right?
network devices like firewall and all, right?
Yes. 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 Firewall,
So
WAF, that
yeah,
kind of devices, that is a different, right?
yeah. So example firewall, right? So for example, like Palo Alto firewall, preferably you
Mm-hmm.
would be getting the firewall logs in your syslog machine, correct? So
Yes.
you need to set up this AMA or DCR on your syslog machine. So that's like
Okay.
Palo Alto firewall sending logs to syslog machine. How it is sending? Because we have shared the
So
syslog server IP.
Syslog machine will act as a broker. Directly, there is no possibility. Like we cannot send the logs to Azure Workspace,
No,
right? From the firewall.
directly we cannot see because we cannot install
Okay.
our AMA agent on our Palo Alto, right? Maybe we
Yes.
can do
Correct.
it on the machine where Palo Alto is deployed, but that is
Okay.
also not a good practice. So we should create our own dedicated machine, which is syslog server, where we will set up our agent, and
Mm-hmm.
that agent, once it is installed, right, then we can, I mean, we'll choose from here which what type of agent it is, Windows, Linux, right?
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So then we from Windows we preferably get performance and Windows event. From Linux we get performance syslog. So syslog is from Linux. So it support these are all the log formats like log alert, log audit, log all.
I got it. This Windows event and syslogs
Mhm.
from Windows and Linux. But what about the performance?
Performance logs are there, right? Uh, and I mean, there are generic
Okay.
logs performance in the dedicated table perf. There's a table called as perf where we get the performance logs from Windows. And there's one more table which they are not showing here. Now, whenever there's a new platform that gets onboarded, right, it shows heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
We get heartbeat from that machine that it is onboarded. So that's the very first
Yes.
table which we should
Okay.
see once the AIM agent is installed onto the machine, right? That's the very first table
Okay.
which we can start to look for whether it is sending some telemetry from the required resource to our Sentinel or workspace only, right? So that is why
Mm-hmm.
that's how we check. Then all is
Okay.
like any custom text or custom JSON. Like I just gave you an example of a JSON, right? So that if you have
Yes.
any custom log source, then you should go with the third parameter all, and this requires
All.
the data collection endpoint. The for Windows and
Okay.
Linux it is not required, but DC would be required. If you see here, right, DC is
Mm-hmm.
optional for collecting Windows event log or Linux or performance counters. It is required for all other data sources. What are those all other data sources? The JSON which I have shown you, the custom text file, custom JSON file. If there's any custom log source, right, then you require a data collection endpoint and you need to choose this all option. Now selection
Okay.
of resource. So if I just give any random name here like random DCR, and if I provide any like this, and if I choose Windows here, for example, I don't need to select DC because I'm choosing Windows here, right, or Linux. If I choose Windows and Linux, enter.
Okay.
The second tab is the resource tab.
Mm-hmm.
Means it is asking me to add the resource from where I need to get the data, right, or the log. So here, if you see, I can I can see my management group and I have the option here.
That is one option is window VM, right?
Yeah, because I selected Windows here,
Windows.
right? If I just select, if I
Uh-huh.
place the Linux here, then it will show me the Linux machines which are available in this selection.
Okay.
If I just add resource here, it will show me three because now I have VM, Linux VM only in this particular resource group. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a Linux machine.
Okay.
And if I happen to select all, for which DC is mandatory,
Mm-hmm.
then it will show me see all three. For
All three.
Windows, it is only showing me two because these two resource group only have the Windows machine. Now it is showing me all. Why? Uh, because it has both the variations of Windows as well as Linux machines, right? That's why all mean. See, sample
Okay.
VM, Windows VM. Like this is
Okay.
Windows sample VM is a Linux machine, but Windows VM is a Windows machine deployed in the South India location. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for Windows Server, which are non-Azure, you have to onboard them via Azure first as Azure Arc machines, right? If it is non,
Mm-hmm.
you need to do that. Then only it will be visible here. You need to understand, like, if it is until it is part of my resource group, how I can choose a resource, right? I don't see any
Yes.
option for on-premise or other cloud provider here, right? So that means I need to get the on-premise or other cloud machines in this list. For that, I need to do some ARC activity. So that is what it is saying here. For Windows client machine, an MSI package installation is required. If it is a client machine, we need to have separate package here. For Linux machine, only Azure Arc onboard resource can be scoped to DCR. If it is not Azure Arc enabled, then it will not be able to. Whenever any
Mm-hmm.
resource is added to DCR, Azure Monitor Agent is installed automatically. This line is very important here. This
Yes.
states that you don't need to separately go to the machine and set up this agent. Rather,
Yes.
whenever you complete this DCR, right, with the completion of this DCR itself, it will install the agent
Mm-hmm.
onto the endpoint. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that is very important. Now, what type of data should be collected? For
Event
Windows,
performance is
Mhm.
log.
Mhm. For Windows, performance in Linux and Windows both are common, and we have event as well. As the very first lecture we saw event viewer here, if you recollect. So that's the same event which it is pointing in this slide deck here. So these are all the events we see, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
these are the events, but selected few events only it collects. It's not collects all the events which we have in this place, but we have the option to custom choose and ingest those events in our machine. So what I will
Okay.
do parallelly is like I've created one resource group here with two machines in place. Like I'll just show you resource groups. So you see default resource group VWUS, right? So we have couple of
Yes.
resources here. There's one VM which is Azure VM and there's Azure Windows VM, right? So if I just open this, I have the option to connect to it. So I'll just connect to it. I'll download the RDP to it
Can you go back again? So I missed some point actually
in the
here.
slide. Or
Uh, in this slide, in this practical one, default resource group.
yeah,
No, no,
I
this
mean,
is fine. After that, you yes. Before that, what you did? Yes.
so the thing is like I have created a resource group. I have created a resource group
Yes.
here and I have spinned
Hmm.
two VMs in it. One is a Linux machine
Okay.
and one is this Windows
Okay.
machine, right? So I just click
Okay.
on the
Okay.
Windows machine here. I have already spinned it up,
Hmm.
but I will create the data collection rule now. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get an RDP of it, like remote desktop to this machine. So once I give connect, I have the option to connect to it. I've downloaded this RDP file, which is like this.
Hmm.
And whenever you create the VM, right, you get the credentials to log into this machine, right? So the same credentials you need to put here. So this is a fresh machine which doesn't have
Hmm.
any of the things, and the machine is like Windows Server 2022 data center. This is the operating system which I've chosen here,
Hmm.
and this is
Hmm.
the machine here. Okay, so by
Okay.
default it always opens this thing which is server manager, but
Yes. Yes.
this is the Windows machine which I've opened. Now if I just search event viewer, it will show its own events, right? This machine as of now is not onboarded on our, or it doesn't ingest the logs. We are not ingesting any logs from it. So we need to set up a EMA agent via using DCR rule, right? So I'll just guide you
Yeah.
how we will do it one by one parallelly as we go in that slide deck. We will understand that. Now, one more
So
thing.
multiple resource can be created in one resource group, right?
Yes,
Multiple VMs.
exactly. So
Okay.
resource group name itself is resource group that you can have multiple types of resources. All your resources should be clubbed in a resource group. And then resource group belongs
Okay.
to a subscription as I've given you the hierarchy in the last lecture, right?
So in even in one subscription, multiple resource group we can create.
Yeah, exactly. Your subscription can have
Okay,
multiple resource groups. Resource group one, two,
okay,
3, 4, 5, 6, like that, right?
okay,
And
okay,
the
okay.
subscription is like kind of a department like HR department or
So,
XYZ department.
so
Preferably when we do this implementation, we have a separate security subscription like that.
ये जो एक्सरसाइज अभी हम कर रहे हैं, मैं एक एजूर विंडो वीएम क्रिएट करके मेरा जो सेंटिनल डिप्लॉय किया हूँ उसके साथ भी मैं इंटीग्रेट कर सकता हूँ, राइट?
Yes, exactly, exactly. But
ओके,
first,
नो
अभी
नीड टू।
हाँ, अब एज ऑफ नाउ जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं, अभी मैंने सेंट्रल को लाया ही नहीं कंटेक्स्ट के अंदर।
नहीं
वाई
नहीं नहीं नहीं,
बिकॉज
मैं
हाँ
वही पूछ रहा हूँ,
हाँ
अभी
हाँ
तो हम डेटा कलेक्शन रूल में ही है,
हाँ
लॉग इंजेक्शन में ही है।
यस। और इसके लिए सेंट्रल कल से आएगा पॉसिबली, बिकॉज इसका
हाँ
जो
हाँ हाँ
बेसिक है वो वर्क स्पेस है। वर्क स्पेस नहीं है तो सेंट्रल
हाँ
है ही
हाँ।
नहीं है। वर्क स्पेस की अंडरस्टैंडिंग इसलिए जरूरी है, दैट्स व्हाई आई एम ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड वर्क स्पेस अंडरस्टैंडिंग फर्स्ट। इट्स ऑल एम ए डीसीआर, जो भी कंस्ट्रक्ट है वो क्लियर हो जाएंगे, देन वी विल बी एबल टू सेल थ्रू आवर सेंट्रल स्मूथली। सो
श्योर श्योर, ओके।
ये मशीन को लॉगिन हो गया। नाउ दिस इज आवर वर्चुअल मशीन एरिया, राइट? सो there is a field here. If you search extension, you will be able to see all the extensions which are installed in our machine as of now, right? So we have Microsoft Monitoring Agent and we have Windows Agent, right? It is installed. How it is installed? I don't have any DCR here for this. So these are the default which gets installed on its own, right? But you'll see our monitoring agent on it soon by collecting or by creating an AMA or the DCR. Same rest with this Linux machine here. ये लिनक्स मशीन है मेरा और इसके लिए मैंने, if you see here, we have Bastion. Bastion is something which allows us to access the machine on the portal on this browser itself. So I'll just provide my
ओके।
credentials here. So we are testing two machines. One is this Linux variant, one is the Windows variant to ingest the logs. So this is our Ubuntu 22.24.
लिनक्स मशीन।
Yes, Ubuntu machine here. And if you see extensions here, so it's showing us OMS agent, but that's not for our use and it is empty. So one which is of our interest, it's not there. It will come eventually once we set up the DCR, create a DCR like that, right? Okay, so okay, let me just get back to our. Okay, I will see if I have any resource. The resource if I have any log and so we have this default workspace here. This is our default workspace for this resource group. And if you go to logs, this is our heartbeat table. And I'm checking for data from heartbeat for last 24 hours. Okay,
ओके।
okay. So it is installed on its own only. If you see here, maybe as it's a default resource group, so it has done on its own. That is the thing. Because this resource group is not built by me, it is built by this admin structure only. So it has couple of solutions in place which might have done that possibly. Okay, so I'll not be able to show you the setup here. Possibly I'll create a new resource group. Sentinel resource group I'll create and let it be in this West US 3 region options. Let me just create it. So I've created a new resource group which goes with name Sentinel RG. I'll create a Windows machine here first. I'll do that from by going to the virtual machines as well. And preferably I'll stop my machines, otherwise I will get billing here. So I'll just stop these running instances which are part of our older resource group. Why I'm doing this, recreating it, new resource group and spinning up the new machine so as to guide you how I can set up agent, because these two machines already have the agent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because this resource group is not mine. I mean, it's pre-created.
Okay.
It always get pre-created because they monitor the security
Mm-hmm.
on this subscription, right? That's why they create it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just stop. Now I will get to my VMs here. It will be stopping it soon, and I'll create one machine here, and I'll use my own resource group which I just created, which is Central RG. I'll just provide the name
Okay.
like okay. I'll just give name Azure VM Windows Sentinel RG. This is our default workspace, and it is giving me the option to create. Okay, this says this West US 3 doesn't have the version available. So possibly I need to
Mm-hmm.
choose different
Region.
region to check if it is available or not. The size not available in zone 1, zone 2 are supported. So check the zone 2 and check zone 1, check if it is working. And you might need to provide your Azure username and password, which is prerequisite there, right? Select your just let the defaults, the basic only we need to fill, the default should be default only. Just try to review and create and see if it get deployed. Once it is deployed, we'll take RDP to it. I'll just
Yes.
close this machine.
So
Then
this
when
one actually pay as you go. That
yes,
billing option is
yeah,
not there
yeah.
actually.
If you see, it's like 0 to 180 USD per hour. It will charge standard E2S V3 machine, and it will charge this much. $0.2
Okay.
per hour. The thing is,
So
like,
any virtual machine we have to pay, right?
yeah,
So it's not free.
it's not free. It has very least cost per hour. But the thing is, like, as I've just pinned up this resource group, right? This one. Preferably, once I
Mm-hmm.
complete my lab, what I'll do, I will close I will delete my resource group entirely.
I'll, okay.
Rather
Okay.
than
So
keeping it,
if you remove that virtual machine also, that cost will not involve.
yeah.
They will
So
not charge you anything,
if
right?
you delete the resource group, it will delete all the resources deployed in this group, like VM, Linux, Windows, etc. Right?
Okay. Okay.
Because
Ha ha
you
ha.
see, this Azure Windows, it is first deploying the VNet. Then it is having its own NSG
Okay.
network security group, and it's having own public IP address. So if you just go to VM,
Mm-hmm.
delete a VM, it will not help. The VNet still there, the NSG is there, right? The public IP is there because these are the separate. Now it is creating the VM. So when I create VM, it just
Okay.
doesn't create VM only. It creates these other dependent tools as well. Preferably, if you delete the resource group, it will delete all. But if you go to just a VM
Okay.
and delete it, it will not help you out.
So it will automatically allocate a IP address or manually you can
So
allocate
when I was
also.
creating the
Yeah,
VM,
with
it has given me the option under networking that what type of IP you need, whether it's public IP or private IP. So as we are testing, I've just taken the public IP address. So when we have a wizard
okay.
there while we are creating this machine, right? So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my resource is now deployed. I'll just go to my resource, which is the actual VM itself, right? So initially it will
Mm-hmm.
take some time for it to get ready, right? It will not be ready for us to consume directly. So I'll just give it some time. It will take some time for it to get ready for me to download the RDP and take access to that machine. So that is how it works. Meanwhile, let me go to my resource group again, and what I'll do, I'll create one more Linux machine in the same resource group.
Okay.
So we see our Windows Azure Windows VM, right? Okay, not this one. Your Windows Central RG, which is an our new resource group like this, and this is running. Now
हाँ, हाँ,
I will create a Linux machine.
under this resource group.
Yeah, under the central RG itself, and I'll you give it a name like Linux VM Sentinel RG, and you can take West US2 as your region. Images you can select 22.04. See, it says it's not available in zone 1, zone 2, so we'll just change our zone 2 as we did for our Linux Windows machine, right? And here we have the administrator options for passwords. We'll just select the password, which is like Azure VM. And this is the default NSG port, which is SSH, so that we can do SSH to that machine. We have 22 port. And okay, that's fine. Then we go to networking. Here you see we have the option for public IP. So there's the public IP to choose.
Okay.
Until I specify that I don't need any public inbound, so it will say
Mhm.
no. So then only it will work that way. Just
All port it's allowed.
not all, but only 22.
Okay.
If you want to enable other ports, then you need to
Okay.
set
Allow
the
selected port. Okay.
yes.
Got it.
And just review and create at the end. Just go through the defaults only first step. We need to build rest until you have any specific networking requirement. You don't need to check that. Let me
Mhm.
see my virtual machine here, and I'll check this whether it's ready for me to. That's not showing me that thing, right? So I'll just connect it. For connection, I have the option to download this RDP files. I'll just download it and check if it allows me to log in or not. Okay, it is allowing me to log in.
Mhm.
This is the IP 172.179.241.226. This is a fresh instance of my Windows server. Let it load. Meanwhile, I'll get to my Linux machine. I'll create it here. And if you see extensions, let me see what extension it is having. There is no extension here, right? As we saw
Yes.
in the previous resource code, they were there because there might be some policy which is working there, which is ensuring that whichever machine gets deployed should have the extension. So that's why they already onboard it on its own, right? But here we don't. We need to do it manually. So that's what we will understand how we need to do it. So let this machine deploy, and let me just get to my data collection rule now. Okay, I'll create a data collection rule. I'll provide this Windows. I'm creating it for Windows. So Windows DCR, I'll give name, right? Sentinel RG, belonging to Central RG. So I'll just choose my Central RG as a resource group because that's the resource group where my machine is located, right? And preferably try
Yes.
to give the same region wherever your resource group is, right? So
Okay.
if you see,
Resource group and virtual machine, the region should be same, right?
ideally it should be same, but in case if it like I were deploying this VM, right? It says we cannot deploy it in the region which you select. So that's why I've changed it, right? So my
Mhm.
uh, this is my central RG which is in West US 3. But my machines are in West US region, not West US 3, right? So as I'm creating
Mhm.
this DCR, I will choose West US 3 only because that's the uniformity which we try to get. So I don't need DCR. I'm just selecting Windows, which is default. I'll just go to resource here. I'll add the resource,
Mhm.
which is my Windows machine, which I just spinned up. We just saw, right? Where is our machine? This is our resource group. And my Linux machine is also deployed now in our new machine. So I'll just go to resource. I might need to check whether we have batch gen supported here or not. if there's no batch. So it is asking me to deploy a Bastion. Bastion deployment itself will take some time, so I'll just give it's like
Okay.
15 minutes of which it will take so that I can log into this machine. But the thing is, if I just see extensions here, it will also show me blank. No extensions on the Linux machine
Mhm.
as well. So we have two machines where we don't have
Okay.
any extensions and we need AMA extension. I'm showing you right now because once I install AMA agent, it will show AMA here and you will not be able to figure out that when we have agent and when we don't have, right? So we need to pre-check. Ideally, it's part
Mhm.
of my lab environment. I'm just trespassing it in between. Okay.
Okay.
So let the version deployment
Mhm.
complete, then we'll come one by one. Now, this is the transformation part. If I showed you how we transform the data, right? You can implement transformation at the table instance of the workspace, as well as you can add transformation section in the JSON configuration of the data collection rule with the help of Azure API. So these are the two options for
Mm.
transformation we have. One which I shown you while creating the table itself, right? Another is at the we have other options as well which even I need to explore, but one which I prefer is to do the transformation when we are doing the ingestion itself like that. So these are the broad 5 steps in the data collection rule: platform, selection of
Mhm.
resource, type of data should be collected, how to transform the data, and where to send the data like that.
Okay.
So this is our lab one, which is like creation of data collection rule, but data collection rule we cannot create standalone, right? So we have this hands-on lab one, which is like deploying Azure monitoring agent for Windows Server. So we already have our Windows Server in place, right? And
Yes.
so this is the list of supported operating systems we have: 2022 or 2019. These are the one which we can where we can deploy Azure Monitor Agent smoothly. Now there are certain permissions which you should have, like you need to have a monitoring contributor. This is required to create a data collection rule. So if somebody asks what permission we need to create a data collection rule, you need to say like we need to have monitoring contributor. And when it says association,
That is the permission.
yeah, permission we should have. Then, but if we are global admin, then we can do anything. But if we are restricting the access, then this is the minimum access we should have to create a DCR like that. And when it says association, that means it is pointing to the resources. We attach resource to while defining the DCR, right? So that is the association part. For virtual machine
Mhm.
contributor, like deploying agent and creating a VM, we need to have virtual machine contributor role, right? And Azure Connected
Okay.
Machine Resource Administrator for ARC machines, we need to have this.
Okay. These three permissions.
Yeah. Based on the
So,
resource we are having or we are dealing with, we need to have required permission there. Now, where Azure
okay.
Monitor Agent can be installed, these are the places we can install it: VMSS, VM, and Azure Arc Enable Server like on-prem, GCP, Amazon.
Mhm.
Now, AMA deployment. To deploy AMA from portal, you have to create a DCR. Right? When we get DCR, AMA will install on its own. As of now, we don't have DCR in place, right? And that is why there is no agent, AMA agent on the Linux as well as the Windows machine, as we just saw, right?
Yes.
So AMA will install automatically. The second point says that the AMA will install automatically in the form of extension. The extensions can be observed as well in the respective VM, Linux or Windows. So we just saw on the portal, right, and the extensions that there's no agent installed because there's no DCR as of now.
Mhm.
So this is
Okay.
hands-on lab 2, which is AMA Windows machine. So we just spent our 2022, right, and we check the extension port and that it is blank. Now we are creating the DCR. So let's get back to our lab now. Okay, so I'll just see. So this is our DCR here, and I was about to choose
Mhm.
the resource. So I'll choose from Sentinel RG. I see, as I've selected resource in the basics, so it will be showing me only Windows machine. Although this one is having a Linux machine as well, but it is not showing it
Mhm.
because we are restricting the resource here. Now you will see this machine is available, like locations just one like that, and I'll just collect and deliver. So this is the step which will help us choose what type of logs you want, right? So I need to choose like add data source, and it shows me what are the source types. So it gives me performance and Windows event log. So I'll just
Okay.
select one, Windows event log, and in Windows event log you see we have application related logs like critical error warning information. I'll just select all. From security perspective, we have audit success, audit failure. The system
Mhm.
perspective like critical error warning, information and verbose. Now
Hmm.
where creating this
What about custom? What about custom? One option is there. So
custom
this
is
is
something.
basic.
Custom, I'll guide you. It supports XPath queries. XPath query is something like
So
this. Yeah, so it will allow
if you
whatever.
want to
Hmm.
if you want to drop a particular event ID, so
Yeah,
you can write here.
whatever beyond these, because these are already you can
Hmm.
select and come, but whatever beyond these, you can write a custom XPath query to get those logs to your table like that.
That I understood. Suppose I want to drop one particular event ID. So is it possible here we can
So
write any query?
that event ID you need to track here first. This is our machine, right? So you need to
Yes.
get to your event viewer first. Let me just show you. Whichever event ID it is, you need to select
Hmm.
that here. You need to trace it first in this place. So application security and system logs, they are part of. But setup, let me see if you have any setup log. No, there are zero events. Forwarded events is also zero only. PowerShell, let me see if we have. So we have couple of PowerShell related event, which is having event ID 403600, right? So
Yes.
here you need to generate the XPath query here. So how you generate the XPath query is like filter current log. So you need to select the logs which you want to ingest. So mostly they are all information. So I'll just select information here and I'll give OK. So it will filter that. But to actually see the XML, you need to come to this XML. Now from this XML itself, you need to create the XPath query actually. And
Yes.
few event sources. So yeah, actually I'm right now I'm having all event IDs. If you see all event ID was, let me just cancel it out. Filter current log. See, include exclude event IDs, enter ID number or ID range separated by commas to exclude criteria. Like this we can do 1, 3, 5 to 99 and 76 like that, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
example, which event ID, like we'll take 600, right? So if I just
Hmm.
give 600, let me see if it has amended this event ID 6. So this is giving me 600 here. So, but
Okay.
this is not this is the XML complete. I don't want to use this complete XML. Rather, I need to frame my own XPath query here. How to create an XPath query is like this. Notepad. And this is actually what we are doing as a transformation as well. That we are choosing
Exactly.
specific. So I'll just remove this query part here and same from the top as well. And I'll just keep this as of now. I'll remove this selected path until this window path and I'll remove this as well, and from the last I'll remove the select as well, and I
Mm-hmm.
would keep only like this path. So this is now my XPath query for ingesting PowerShell related event ID 600 like that. So this is something custom and we need to put it here like this, and
Okay.
I'll just add it to my list. And from which machine it will take? The machine which we just choose in the resource. From resource machine I'm intending to get these logs.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the options. Now, destination is very important where you want to send them. So, in my new resource group, I haven't created any log entities workspace by the way. So, I'll just create a workspace here because that's the place where I would like to get those logs, right? So, I'll just create one here. I'll choose my resource group as Central RG, provide Sentinel RG law, just create it. And I might need to refresh this out possibly because it will not show me now immediately as I'm creating it after, right? One more quick thing here to show, as my machine is not onboarded yet, right? So
Yes.
I'm creating my workspace, I'll show you heartbeat that there's no heartbeat coming from these machines. The first thing after setting up the agent, we'll check the heartbeat. Heartbeat also takes some time. It will not be instant, right? So then we
Mm-hmm.
can start checking the logs. Let this workspace deploy.
Complete.
Okay, let me get to my resource, which is workspace only, right? So if I just go to logs, I don't have anything as of now, so that's why there's no heartbeat as well.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this workspace itself is very new, so it doesn't have anything. Now, I'll get back to my DCR. I will try to juggle here and see if it shows me. It on me to Azure Monitor Log destination type, and destination table would be workspace is required. So I might need to cancel this now and I'll refresh it again because I just created my workspace. It will not show like that. So I'll just provide my Sentinel RGDCR. So this is for Windows specifically, right? Just give the right naming
Yes.
convention there. Choose your resource group. Let it be Windows and region should be West US. If you go to your resource, just verify it whether your region is West US. That's West US 3 only, right? We'll go to next resource. We'll add our resource here, which is our Windows VM. From this resource group, I'll choose my Windows VM. Just apply that. Get to your collect and deliver phase. Just add a data source. What you want to collect? We are planning to collect the. I'll just say security events and audit failure. Second from custom. Okay, not this one. Just copy this event ID 100 for PowerShell related logs, right? So I'll just give that. Just add
Yes.
it and then give your destination. In destination it should show us the workspace. Now I'll just add a new destination here. So now it is showing me Central RG law. Okay, so I'll just add a data source.
So this is the workspace.
Yeah, this workspace only. Here I'm defining the
Okay.
data should go where. It should go to a workspace, right? So collect and deliver. Collect from the previous one. What it should collect event log that we have given. Then
Yeah.
deliver at which place the log at its workspace, right? Like that. So just give tags and run review and create. So validation is passed. So as soon as I give create here, right, it will start deploying the AMA agent onto the machine. Where is our VMs? VMs, if I go, I'll just open this Windows in our central RG. As of now, I don't have any extension, right? So that's why there's no heartbeat as well. So as soon as I click here, it is initializing the deployment, right? And we'll soon see our AMA agent. And once AMA is there, then we will be able to see our uh, heartbeat onto this place, right? Heartbeat as well as the other events which we have selected. That's how the actual total flow is. So we'll keep a check in here. We'll keep and check on the DCI deployment. First, this should deploy. So it is deployed. We can go and check. This is our central DCR. If you come to data source, here you will see the selections which we made in the Windows event log. We have basic, which is audit success and audit failure, and the custom log, which
Mhm.
is Windows PowerShell. And this is our machine. I'll just give a quick refresh here. It is showing Azure Monitor Windows Agent, right? It is coming here.
Yes.
And we might need to wait for some time for a heartbeat. Heartbeat will not be instantaneous. Same rest with other are dependent on heartbeat. First we get the heartbeat, then we'll get the event. Like so, they are interdependent on each other. In similar lines, let the heartbeat and the agent be observed. Like let me just go to my new data collection rule. I'll create a new data collection rule for our Linux machine. Data collection rule from the Linux machine. I'll just create one. So Sentinel RG Linux DCR. Okay. Provide your
Yes.
central RG as the name, and we'll choose Linux here. Make sure you're
Hmm.
giving the West US 3 as your region. Then collect. In the collect, you need to choose your machine, so it will show you Linux machine as well in the central RG now. See, Linux machine only it is showing me because we selected Linux there.
So this is the agent. Which one you select?
This is not the agent. This is the machine name. If you
Okay.
see, if you see my VMs here, right?
Hmm,
Azure
hmm, hmm,
Windows
hmm.
Central. This is my machine name. Now I'm using Central
Okay.
Linux VM. This is my machine name, which we gave while defining it,
Okay.
right? As of now, it
Hmm,
doesn't
hmm,
have
hmm.
any extension as well because until I create a DCR, it will not have the extension. So I'm just choosing it here. So
Okay.
Central RG. In my resource group, I'm choosing the Linux machine, the resource, actual resource
Yes.
from where I want the
Okay.
logs. Collect
Hmm,
and
hmm, hmm.
deliver. Add your data source. Resource type. In Linux, we have Linux syslogs and we
Syslog.
have
Yes.
multiple facilities. These are the same facilities which we just saw here, right? In one of the
Yes.
deck, we saw the facilities, correct? Here. Like log alert, log audit, log auth priv, right? So log alert, log auth.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
which one you want and the facility level. This level is important. If you tend to select debug, that means you will get all type of alert. But if you just select the emergency, that means only the alert which are of emergency log level will be shared. The intensity is less. So that's how you can govern the cost. If you select debug, that means all type of alert logs you will get. So by default, it is debug only now. If you select the facilities and then you can set like for all facilities what type of logs you want. Like info, it will reflect info here. If it is emergency, then it will select emergency. So preferably during the start of the implementation, we need to understand whether there is a connectivity. So we go with info level and we can manage it at a mass or we can deselect and for example auth I need all the emergency. So you can do like that setting also. But no log will
Okay.
go beyond these. So that is how
Hmm,
it
hmm, hmm.
works. Now destination. Destination you need to select your workspace only, right? So just select your central RG law. Add this as a data source. Provide if you want to provide any tags, and just give a review and create. So as soon as get created, we will see a agent getting deployed on our Linux machine, which is AMA only. Now I'll just create it here. This is our DCR for Linux machine, correct? Now I will check. It is creating, it is submitting the deployment. Meanwhile, let me go to my workspace to see the logs from our Sentinel machine. Sentinel RG log here, right? We just go to logs. If there's any heartbeat coming from our Windows machine, right? So it started showing the machine, right? Now if you expand this,
Yes.
you will be able to see the computer IP. So if I just open my Windows machine, in the overview, if you see, it is having the IP, public IP will load 172.79.241.226, right? So it is the same machine, and computer name is
Hmm, hmm,
Azure
hmm.
Windows. So it is not able to show the complete name, but it is showing me Azure Windows Central RG like that. And the category is Azure Monitor Agent. This is important. The OS name which I'm having is this, right? Now let me see if
Hmm.
I'm having any event from this. Okay. See, I have event from the machine. I'll just these are we have selected audit log. If you recollect, if we have audit
Yes,
log,
yes, got
like
it.
hmm.
There are two options you choose actually
Yeah. So
that time.
whichever log type we have, it will come. That's how it is. And let's
Mm-hmm.
see event ID project. If you want to project event IDs, that's how you can project the event IDs. And the event ID for PowerShell, if you recollect, is 600, right? So
Hmm.
where event ID equals to 600. Let's see if we have any event ID. Maybe equals to.
There is a syntax.
No, there is no syntax issue as let me just try to put, but there is no log I think as of yet from that.
Mm-hmm.
So because there are other events ID which I see, like if I just see testing event ID available, Srivastava. Just a second, I'm getting one call.
Okay, okay, no problem.
Hello, yeah, who's this? Yeah, hi, this is from calling from Network Labs. We received a request from you regarding Kubernetes training. Yes, ma'am, I'll let you know about that. As if I'm researching on some of the aspects, I'll just get back to you once I'm done with that research, okay? So if you need some details, shall I share some trainer profile and reference videos for you? Yeah, you can do that on the WhatsApp, yes. I'll just go through and let you know. Yeah, thank you. Sure, sure. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's get back to our portal here. We have these distinct event ID as of now for last 30 minutes as I'm seeing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that PowerShell thing should also come up eventually, but we cannot commit when it will come, but it will come by virtue of the DCR custom configuration which we did, right? So that's how it works.
Yes.
But we have the
Mm-hmm.
heartbeat and our DCR is working fine, that we can confirm. Now I will check for my Linux machine. How is the deployment? So it got deployed, our deployment is complete. So first thing first is to check the Linux machine for the extension, right? So if I just click on
Yes.
extension here, we'll check our extension. It shows our OMS agent for Linux is there, right? This is the latest version for the agent, which is different if you see in our Windows machine. The agent might vary because these are different flavors of OS, right? But we have
Mm-hmm.
the provisioning status has succeeded, right? So that means we might get the heartbeat from it now. I mean, it will take some time. It will not be instantaneous as we have observed it for our uh, machine. So heartbeat will show consolidatedly for Windows or Linux. Heartbeat is common across, so it will show us the same IP for Linux, but it will take some time. Let's wait for it, and maybe I'll just get back to my slide deck here. So we tested our setup right for the AMA on Windows machine. Then tables that are used to ingest data, heartbeat we checked and perf and events. So perf we didn't selected by the way, so it might not have some data, but events we have selected, right? So that's why we thought let me just check if we have performance related data or not. Or we have the table, but it's a by default table. But let's see if we have any logs in perf. We don't have any because that depends on the selection we did. We were very picky when we were making the selections, right? Like the auth security audit as well as the custom one we did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is our XPath key also we just tested, right? We need to wait for our 600, which is PowerShell related log, which is not by default part. How we frame the XPath query we
Okay.
understood, correct? Configure custom
Yeah.
log. What is XPath query we understood? How to create a custom data ingestion for Windows. How to check if custom configuration is applied or not. How to check for logs, right?
Yeah.
This is the XPath
So,
query. Yeah. Hmm.
In XPath query, suppose you included some query, but if I want to
Hmm.
exclude some event ID, is it possible?
You want to exclude, yes. So while generating the data here, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, this is right only. This is right. So how we did this? We did this like we put the filter, right? Include, exclude, event ID, center ID, number, and ID range. To exclude radius, type a minus sign. Okay, so minus 76 if you put, so that means it is excluding. Otherwise, it is including, like that.
Okay.
And based on
Okay.
that only, it will generate the XML like event ID 600. And if I just put
Mm-hmm.
like what are the 400, right? So I'll just put comma minus 400, right? And if I see XML, it would be like suppress path. This is select path. This is suppress path. By default, if you just select 600 inclusions only, it will not be considering 400 for that sake. So preferably you just give your, otherwise you might need to create two custom path in your DCR like that. Okay, which is a suppress path separately you need to create if you want to suppress that. Okay, so I'll just cancel this out. Hmm, just minimize this and let me get back to my slide deck here. These are the basic one. We chose security and we have created this XPath query as well, right? No,
Yes.
it's not only these three categories for which we events are generated, right? Like application security and system. If you see in our machine, we have application security and system. These three only are considered, but these are not the only log sources. That's why we are leading
Yes.
to XPath, and that's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
covering in the slide deck as well. Like even if you are a Windows 2022, we have application security and system, but we have a huge amount of other log sources like Windows, etc. Right, like DNS server logs, etc. etc.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But to get those logs, you need to get to that log, filter it, refine it, and get the XML, convert it to XPath, use that in the custom in the DCR, right? These are the currently
So
supported one.
that is the only way. मतलब
Hmm.
अगर मेरे को कोई कस्टम लॉग्स ऑनबोर्ड करना है सेम सर्वर से तो मेरे को एक्सपाथ कोरी ही यूज करना है और कुछ नहीं मतलब एप्लीकेशन सिक्योरिटी एंड सिस्टम इज बाय डिफॉल्ट बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट इफ आई वांट सम अदर लॉग्स देन आई हैव टू यूज द एक्सपाथ कोरी
True, true. That
करेक्ट
is the approach exactly. XPath generate करना
ओके
पड़ेगा उसके लिए otherwise. Then deploy Azure Monitor for Linux machine. We just did that. We created our own Linux machine. We installed AMA using that DCR, right? And Python is a required version. Make sure whenever you create a Linux machine, right? उसका sudo apt अपडेट चला दो या अपग्रेड चला दो ताकि पाइथन वगैरह आ जाए, so बिकॉज वो प्रीरिक्विजिट है तो वो होना चाहिए उसमें. Now folder that created with the installation of AMA in Linux. So if you go to this path cd etc opt Microsoft Azure Monitor Agent, you can get to see your AMA. AMA इस path पे install होता है Linux machine में. Okay, let me get to my Linux machine if we have the heartbeat from Linux machine or not yet. For last 30 minutes, Azure Windows only we have. Okay, let me connect to it. VM. Sudo apt update. This is a new machine only, right? So I would do that. Sudo apt update. Then troubleshooting, we have some troubleshooting options in case our agent doesn't deploy, right? So we have some troubleshooting. This is like system control Azure monitor agent, which will help us to check the status of the AMS. If I just paste it out here like system control status Azure monitor, it says Azure monitor agent service could not be found. So I might need to set up that again on this extensions. Okay. So what I'll do is I need to check out my DCR again. Briefly. I'll delete this. This is my Linux deployment. I'll recreate it
Mhm.
because we don't see that, right, and we also don't have the heartbeat. So that's how we troubleshoot. Like it's already more time when we install the agent, right, and we still have the Windows computer reference only here. That means there's no communication between that machine, so we need to recreate our DCR. Let it delete. It's deleting this deployment.
You'll recreate a new DCR.
Yeah, for Linux machine.
Mhm.
If it got deleted, I'll get to my data collection rule. I'll create a new data collection rule by choosing the resource to which is central RG. Let it be VSTS 3. I'll give Linux here. Then Linux DCR Sentinel RG. Okay. Just give resources. Select the resource which is Linux machine here. Light. Select and deliver. Linux logs. Let it be debug level only. I'll choose the destination. My destination should be AMA. Util should be central log workspace. I'll add the data source, tags, review and create. Let's create and see if it shows the agent and all. So Python is not there. Possibly if it is not there, then I might need to set up Python on this machine to install the agent again. But let's wait. It says it is deployed. Let me just get back to my machine again. Refresh the portal. Check the extension. Now it is showing me Azure Monitor Linux agent, right? And if I just try to see, it is showing me the system status, right, for Azure Monitor agent. So my Azure Monitor agent is active and running on this Linux machine, okay?
Mhm.
And preferably after some time, it will start giving me the logs as well. Not after some time, I think it is having now. I think as of now, it's not having, but it will take some time. This will not be instant, and especially if it's an on-premise or a GCP or some XYZ machine, it will take some more time. But this table, we can
Yes.
rely at the very first instance that if we have heartbeat, then rest of the log should also come.
Yes. Yes.
Now, if I go to my resource here, data collection, data source. sorry. Windows event log, the custom, I've added it here. I think I might need to put this away as well, right? This I need to remove this colon possible. The the double quote for that window power. Let me just try it one
Mhm.
and just save.
Same.
This XPath creation is also kind of a stuff in its own. Okay, so we have now enabled. Let me see if there's any event of 600 type because we already have that. So we have Linux logs. If you see Linux VM Sentinel RG computer name,
Mhm.
and we have the IP as well, like 172.179. If I just see here, 172.179, 242.48, right? 172.179, 242.48. Linux VM Sentinel RG, Linux VM Sentinel. So we have the heartbeat logs from it. Let's just see if there's any sys log. It might take some time for sys logs, possibly. And event till we don't have from the event side. Might take some time. So the core thing is these two
Mhm.
machines are connected and they are integrated. So that's
Okay.
pretty much agenda for the day as well. And if you want to simplify,
So
this is
the
yeah.
yeah summarize actually the summary.
Mm-hmm.
So we created a window machines. We created a
Linux machine in the same
Linux
reference group.
machine, and we created the data collection rule,
Hmm.
and we map, and we are seeing the logs in the workspace, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the whole.
That practical, I had that lab. I have to do it.
Yeah,
You saw
exactly.
me, but I have to do it,
Yeah, I
right?
mean
Otherwise,
that is the key. If we
that is
also
very important.
exactly, otherwise you chances that you might forget.
Yeah, yeah,
If
definitely,
you don't do
because
by hand,
there are very complicated options are there, not like other sim solutions. So, but we are not familiar with the tools. That's why I'm feeling like that. But after doing continuous practice, I think it will be easy. But I think we covered this part, right?
which part? Yeah, yeah, that's
This.
true. We have covered is AMA data collection rule, and we have
Mhm.
tested it on Linux as well as Windows machine as well. So I'll just share this slide deck for your reference, and you can
Mhm,
start
mhm,
doing
mhm.
the lab.
Yeah, yeah. I have to do